So, Royale High doll toys are being resold for like 80% cheaper in thrift stores across the United States, according to a lot of you guys. And today we're going to talk about it because some players are getting the dolls for as low as $5 USD. I know it sounds crazy, and this isn't clickbait, this is an actual situation that has happened, and I've been sent numerous tickets from you guys about this of people being shocked that this is even happening. Now, I want to clarify, for those of you that don't know, Royale High, within like the past year or two, has implemented a sort of toy line where basically you can purchase dolls from the game from retailers like, I believe, Target, Walmart, and Amazon, among some other ones, right? It obviously depends on your region, but basically you can purchase these dolls and you get a little toy, and then you get a code that is included in the box you can then scratch off and redeem for codes in Royale High. There's also a sort of thing called a Royale High bingo card where if you redeem enough toys, you can actually get other limited edition items in the game. Now, aside from all the controversy surrounding the toy, and a lot of people were upset that it cost money, blah, 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 that's been talked about. I have recently been getting so many tickets in my Discord server from you guys, of you guys sending me screenshots of you guys getting these dolls for incredibly cheap with the code inside, untouched and unredeemed. Now, I think a lot of people might be confused on how this happens, so I want to give some quick context. Typically, when you have toys, the toys will sell, and then once they stop selling, stores don't want to keep them on the shelves. And this is just speculation, I don't know for sure, right? But typically what will happen is when stores have a ton of items that are just kind of sitting around and nothing's really happening with it, and they're like, oh, it's kind of taking up shelving space, especially when it's coming to the holiday season where like stores, especially Walmart, really want to kind of jam pack their toy aisle so they can make the optimal amount of sales for the Christmas season. They will take items that aren't selling off the shelves, and sometimes they'll bring them to another location, or B, sometimes certain retailers will resell the dead stock that they have or stock that just isn't being sold to places called overstock stores. Now, overstock stores typically go by specific names, and there's usually a specific kind of company in your area that sells overstock merchandise. But basically, those stores are kind of like thrift stores. However, they sell stuff that hasn't been opened, brand new products that just didn't sell and are being resold for a huge markdown. And what happens is Walmart, in this case, would I guess sell these items to a markdown store, and those items would then be sold for cheaper. And I don't know if that's what's happened here, but that's really the only reason or way I could think of this happening. I'm not exactly sure which retailers decide to do what. I don't have that information, so I'm just using Walmart as an example, so please keep that in mind. However, when I got some tickets from you guys, I started looking into it, and I actually went to some overstock stores in my area specifically, and at one of the biggest overstock stores where I live, I actually found two Royale High toys, and they were both the one with the honeycomb wing pattern, which I'll put on the screen here. And I found these for $10 at an overstock store. Now, this person, who I will credit them accordingly in the description, sent me a video that they took where they basically went to a thrift store, they said, and they bought this toy for only $4.99, but it originally at Walmart retailed for $30. Keep in mind, it may be different for you depending on where you live and your currency, but that's what this person paid for it. So that is a nearly 84% reduction. It's 83.37% reduction in the original price compared to the price that they purchased this toy for. And keep in mind, there's nothing wrong with the toy. It's 100% sealed. The code worked, they said. It wasn't redeemed yet. And I'm not sure if they meant to say, an overstock store, because a thrift store is typically somewhere where people will drop off used items to be repurposed or reused by other people, whereas the overstock store is when new items and new toys specifically, or, food products that are maybe nearing the end of their best before date, example like chips and popcorn, those will be resold and given to overstock stores for them to then sell at a massive discount. And because they get them for so cheap from the other retailers that have basically given them stock that won't, sell, they still make a profit even though they're only selling it for $4.99, which is crazy to me. Now, again, I'm not sure if they meant to say overstock store, if they actually found this at a thrift store, but regardless, in my personal area, I did find two of these dolls at a overstock store. And honestly, I'm genuinely a little bit curious as to why they're appearing there, because at my local Walmart specifically, and this may be different for you guys, but I do find that there are some dolls that are never available, and then other ones that are always just sitting there for weeks and weeks and weeks. Primarily, the Walmart that I go to, they have carried all of the full-size dolls, so like the nature doll, and Mermaidy, I think her name was, or something, the water one. And then the one that they always have is the Avrilla doll, which is like the dark fairy doll. And she is always sitting there on the shelf and is rarely purchased. And, obviously I go grocery shopping, so I will check the toy section for funsies every time I'm there. And when I'm there, I always kind of look because I think it's fun. And the Avrilla doll will be sitting there just staring me dead in the eye. I'm like, oh, Okay. And what's funny too is that all the other dolls, like the nature doll, the water doll, those ones, they have a tag on the shelf. So they're being sold at this location, but they are always sold out. And I think that has to do with how cute the sets are in game. And I think a lot of people maybe don't know that the Avarilla set was released into the game recently, or maybe they just don't like it, and so there's no incentive to buy the doll. I'm not quite sure. However, when it comes to the smaller sets, so like this set with the bakery doll, this bakery doll specifically is always available at my Walmart. There's like always like 10 of these on the shelf. And I think because the holiday seasons are approaching and obviously the stores want to optimize again how much space they have to sell Christmas gifts to parents who want to purchase stuff for their kids or grandparents, whatever, right? I think their intention is to basically just take out anything that isn't selling and replace it with stuff that is selling so they can get more sales. And I'm maybe curious, is that why these items are appearing for such a massive discount? Because there's so many of them that just aren't being purchased. And honestly, I'm really confused as to why this set in particular, the bakery set, isn't selling, because I think it's one of the cutest sets that they actually have in the toy code line. However, it seems like it's just not really selling where I live. And on top of when I went to the overstock store, I also checked my local Amazon because this person was saying that Amazon also has discounts on them. And when I checked Amazon, there's a section for Royale High. It had a bunch of toys on there, but the only toy that was listed for 50% off was this bakery toy. All the other ones were full price except for this one. So this leads me to think that maybe there's some overstock issues with certain variants of the dolls, I guess, or maybe some people just aren't happy with the way the code looks in the game, so there is an incentive to buy it. I'm not quite sure. Personally, in my opinion, I wouldn't purchase these dolls just from my own knowledge. I wouldn't purchase them just to have the doll. The only reason I would purchase these is for the code. And so maybe people just aren't liking the code for this particular doll, and that's why they're not purchasing it. And I know that some people will purchase these dolls, like little kids, they just don't know what the game is, but they'll be like, wow, so cool, I like this. I understand that's going to be the case. And I'm not saying that doesn't exist, right? But I do think that the majority of people who are purchasing these are usually purchasing them for the toy code. So I am a little bit curious, do people just not like this item in the game, or what is the reason that this one specific toy has been so heavily reduced in price? Again, I'm just speculating. I'm not sure exactly if, Walmart did sell stuff to overstock stores. I don't know which provider would sell it to where, but it obviously got into the overstock store where I live, so somebody had to sell it to them. They had to gotten it somehow from somebody. So I genuinely am really curious to see why certain toys are being reduced so significantly in price, whereas other ones are so quick to sell out. And Royale High has confirmed it is their intention to focus on more toys going forward. And I'm curious if they will prioritize like the bigger dolls, so like the full-size dolls like the Avrilla doll, which seem to be selling pretty decently in the game, or if they're going to continue to release these smaller toys. If they do, I really do hope that they revise like the leg peg, because it just does not stick into the foot. The foot just falls off. That's my experience, at least. I bought 4 separate toys from them, completely different sets. They're not the same set, 2 of which were like the $15 one and 2 were like the $7 one, and the feet would not stay on. I literally took nail glue and attached them, which it made like a burning smell, which is kind of scary. I think I released toxic fumes into my office, but regardless, I definitely do think it's interesting that these dolls are being sold for cheaper. And what this person was saying was that you can find them at thrift stores. I've seen other people saying you can find them at Ross specifically as well for discounted prices. You can also check Amazon for discounted prices. At the end of the day, I don't necessarily feel like it's a bad thing if things are discounted. To me, it just indicates that they aren't selling very well. However, that could benefit you if you do want to go ahead and buy one of these dolls for really cheap. I'd recommend checking your local thrift stores, checking any overstock stores near you. You can also call in advance and ask if they have them for overstock stores specifically, because they can help you so you don't waste the trip going there. Check your Amazon, because Amazon will have sales on top of it, which they sometimes have like sales during the week, so you can actually get more money off of the item, which is even crazy to me. And there are some locations of Walmarts where people I've seen have been speculating on Reddit to have sales on certain Royale High toys. I'm not sure how true that is. I haven't seen that at my local Walmart. They're still full price at my Walmart, so I don't know, but I thought this was useful information. So for those of you that maybe do want to buy one of these toy codes, you can buy it for like a fraction of the price and still get the legitimate unused item code to then redeem in your Royale High inventory. But regardless, let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section below. Why do you think the toys or certain variants like this bakery doll are being, reduced by like 83%, which I think is really an astronomical reduction in price? Personally, I get if it was like 50% off, but for it to be 83% off, that tells me that I guess they just have a ton of these dolls that they want to get rid of before they do the next wave of dolls. But that's just my speculation. I'm not sure if I'm right or not. So let me know your theories in the comment section below. And have you seen these dolls for sale at any other locations? Maybe feel free to share the stores down below. Don't share your city because that's not safe, but just telling people what stores, as long as it's not like regional specific, can help other players purchase these dolls if they like to and get the codes in Royale High. Anyways, if you guys made it this far, thank you for watching, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye bye!